So guys, my name's Andres, and my topic today is life outside of Earth. So most of you probably thought, are we the only people living in this universe, All this empty space, you've probably seen movies, extraterrestrial, alien invasion, it kind of fits into this, but I'm talking more reality-wise. So my main proposition today is, there are forms of intelligent life outside of Earth. And what I mean by intelligent life is species like the human race, animals, people that are cognitive, motor skills, conscious. So my first supporting claim is going to be there is strong mathematical probability of life in the universe. And the next one I'm going to talk about is going to be discovery of water and how it affects the how life can be outside of Earth. And then the third one I'm going to talk about is bacteria, how research and tests show that there can be life outside of Earth. So back to my first one. There's a strong mathematical probability of life in the universe. So in 2009, the Kepler Space Telescope found the first Earth-sized planet in the habitable zone. Now this habitable zone is an area in space where liquid water can exist on the surface, just like Earth. In the last 5 years, scientists and NASA researchers have found that 10 to 20% of our neighboring stars around Earth are in this habitable zone. Now, if you guys don't know, there are billions and billions of planets and moons and stars in our galaxy alone. So 10 to 20%, that's unimaginable. Okay? If you guys also don't know, we are in the Milky Way galaxy. That's where Earth, Jupiter, Saturn, all the planets you guys are familiar with, we're in this Milky Way galaxy. And throw some numbers at you guys, the Milky Way galaxy is 100,000 light years across. That's how much a span this galaxy is. And if you guys don't know, 1 light year is equal to 9.5 times 10 to the 12th kilometers. And if you guys don't know, that's just unimaginable space. I can't even think of how big that space is. So, also since 2003, we have found more than 10,000 galaxies. So if you multiply 10,000 galaxies by these billions of planets in our galaxy alone, that's just unimaginable amounts of area. So I strongly believe that we're not the only ones in this world. We're not the only ones. So if you put Earth on a grid of the whole universe with this speck, we can't even see us compared to other galaxies out there. And I'm saying there has to be life out there. We can't be the only life that's like this small compared to everything else. There has to be intelligent life out there. Oliver Guyon, he's a planet officiate for NASA and JPL, and also an associate professor for the U of A. He said, the closest star to us has a possible rocky planet in this habitable zone. That's a huge deal. It also boosts the already existing mounting body of evidence that such planets are near, and that several of them are probably sitting quite close to us right now. So on top of the mathematical probability, I'm going to talk about water now. The discovery of water on other planets increased the likelihood of life elsewhere. Europa. Europa is a moon that orbits Jupiter. Recently, it was found that it has an icy crust on the surface, which hints at ocean right under the crust. So ocean just like Earth. Mars, our neighbor, everyone knows Mars. They found traces of water on the surface of Mars. And they speculate that in the past, Mars had an ocean just like us. Maybe there was life on that planet. Who knows? So my conclusion with water is if water is the basis of our life, we need water to survive as well as an atmosphere, oxygen, hydrogen, but I'm focusing on water now. If water is the basis of our life for our plants, animals, human race, it can be the basis of life for any other species, any other place out there in the universe. So when Ellen Sofin, chief scientist for the agency at NASA, stated, NASA science activities have provided a wave of amazing findings related to water in recent years that inspires to continue investigating our origins and the fascinating possibilities of other worlds and life in the universe. So on top of the mathematical probabilities, on top of the discovery of water, let's talk about bacteria. So experience with bacteria suggests the possibility of life in space is greater. Okay. So NASA sent over 48 strains of our Earth bacteria, sent it up in space to the International Space Station, and shocking conclusion was that a vast majority of them grew at the same rate as it did on Earth. One in particular, Bacillus saphensis, grew 60% better in the International Space Station in microgravity than on Earth. That's big. If you guys don't know bacteria, large amount of microorganisms, that's what a bacteria is. It's a form of life. So if a form of life can thrive in space, that just shows that any other form of life can thrive up there too. So on top of the mathematical probability again, we'll bring it up how vast our universe is. The discovery of water, our basis of life can be the basis of life for other life. And bacteria, an actual life that we have on Earth can thrive in space. I truly believe that again, there are intelligent life outside of our Earth. I'm super curious to find out if we're the only ones in this universe. I strongly believe we do. Hopefully it's in our lifetime that we find this, if not in our children's lifetime. But I hope you guys learned something new, and we'll see what happens with our life. So thank you very much.
All right. I thought that you identified the topic pretty clearly with kind of a cute little reference to popular culture and the movies there at the beginning, and that you clearly state your claim. That's good. There's an excellent preview of what the structure is going to be. That makes it much easier to follow everything that's being said. I appreciated that. And at first I was a little concerned because it sounded like you were just going to give us the terms, mathematical possibilities, water, and bacteria as the supporting points. But as you presented each of the supporting points, you did express them as claims when you got to that in the body of the speech. So I thought that helped quite a bit. Keep your argument consistent and make it easier to follow. There's pretty good explanations on most of your points. I do think that you have to have a little bit more data about how important water is to the assumption that life must exist in other places. You did have a nice quote there, but the quote really seemed very generic to future exploration as opposed to how essential water is on that particular point. So I think it's maybe a little bit backwards on that argument, but otherwise you did a good job. The statistical information on the first point needs some source citations on it. That I think you have good mathematical information on the first point. You have explanations on the second and third point that are followed up by examples and a couple of pieces of testimony data on those points. But except for the material on the second and third point that was directly quoted, it seemed like most of your information is not being cited when it comes to sources, and I think you need to be a little bit more specific about that. That is the thing that is the weakness in the argument. Everything else is very solid. That's just something to fix. And I also thought that you did a very nice job speaking to the audience, and you sound like you're enthusiastic about your subject, and that adds to your credibility immensely. All right, thank you.
Thank you.